Hello everybody, it's me Colton Johnson with Empty Popcorn Bucket Productions. As promised, here's my review for Disney Pixar's Hoppers. For this review, I wanted to try something a little different. I have a review rubric that I use to review movies for each movie that I see. For this movie, since it's animated, I adjusted the rubric just slightly. This rubric helps me move away from being too biased, but I'll have to say, we all have our own biases. So let's hop into this review. With our first category, we have story, theme, and screenplay. The story for this movie is incredible. It follows a girl named Mabel who loves animals and will do whatever she can to help these animals out. This also leads into hopping into a beaver robot to convince the beavers to go back to their pond. Along the way, there's some mishaps, and it just takes you on a heartfelt yet unhinged journey that is classic Pixar, in my opinion. It's very exciting and it moves very quickly, but it's honestly one of those movies where you're smiling throughout most of it because the humor is kind of unhinged in the best Pixar way, making it for one of the funniest Pixar movies I've ever seen. But what really surprised me is how strong the emotional core is. The relationship between Mabel and her grandma is really sweet. The friendship between Mabel and George ended up being one of my favorite parts of the film. And Pixar does what Pixar does best. It balances humor, heart, and stakes really well. The story also avoids a lot of the typical, predictable animated movie tropes, which I really appreciated. So for the story, theme, and screenplay, I'll have to give it a 10 out of 10. Next, we have direction, world building, and vision. One thing I really liked about this movie is how confident it feels creatively. It feels fresh, it feels original, and honestly, that's something Pixar really needed right now. The tone stays really consistent too. It's adventurous, it's funny, and when the emotional moments hit, they actually hit pretty hard. The world building also works really well. The animal world feels alive and immersive. There's even a moment where the movie kind of jokes about being like Avatar, which I actually got a big laugh, and I thought it was funny because it's being self-aware because it is very much like Avatar. And the pacing is great as well. The movie never drags, it keeps moving, and every major scene feels like it's pushing the story forward. So the direction and world building gets a 9 out of 10. Voice performances and characters. The characters in this movie are so likable, so enjoyable. Mabel is a really strong lead. She's funny, energetic, and easy to root for. But honestly, I think my favorite character in the movie has to be King George. He is awesome, he's funny, and I love the performance that Bobby Moynihan gave. I think that's his name. But he does a wonderful job. His personality and his friendship with Mabel brings so much heart to the film. Jerry also is actually a really satisfying character. At first, you kind of think that he's kind of an antagonistic character, but as you go on, you seem to line with him a little more and see his perspective of things. And he's really funny. John Hamm does amazing. Voice acting across the board is really strong, and nothing feels like stunt casting, and everything feels natural and impressive. We have characters voiced by Meryl Streep, Dave Franco, like I mentioned, John Hamm, and so many others. The relationship between the characters are also very believable, which makes the emotional moments hit even harder. So for voice performances and characters, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. Animation and technical craft. Visually, this movie looks really good, and I actually really like this style of Pixar. It seems very different than the typical Pixar, but I feel like they're slowly solidifying that style of Pixar, and it makes it feel like its own. I just love it. It still feels like Pixar, but it doesn't look exactly like the old Pixar. But I enjoyed it. The animation of the animals in particular look amazing, and I love how they're super expressive and really well done. One thing you can notice is when you're in the perspective of the humans versus the animals view the animals as typical animals. But when in the animal perspective, there's so much life and so much character and so much emotion that you see from those characters, and I thought that was very well done. I love how there are some scenes that were just overall crazy, and I loved it. It's colorful, I like the sound design, and it looks really well. Some standout scenes that I like to state, there's this chase sequence with the shark that's really funny, but also one of my favorites is the dam building sequence. When they're building the dam, it's really fun to watch. So the animation, I'd say, gets a 9 out of 10. Now we have impact, originality, rewatchability. This is where the movie really wins me over. By the end of the film, you get that classic Pixar warm, fuzzy feeling, which I honestly feel like we haven't had in a while. It feels fresh, it feels meaningful, and it really stands out in the current animation landscape. Pixar has gotten some criticism recently about their original movies, but this honestly feels like a great shift in the right direction. Right now, this is actually my favorite animated movie of the year. I mean, I've only seen 2 so far, but I thought this one was very strong, and I very much enjoyed it. And yeah, I think this movie will hold up after multiple viewings. I actually am seeing it again this weekend, so you can say that it is pretty rewatchable. So I get this a 10 out of 10 in that degree. So to add up my final score, it will be a 48 out of 50, and I like to round up, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 ranking. I love this movie. It's a great time. It's hilarious. It's very, very unhinged in a lot of ways, but in a great way. Like, there's moments in there that I was jaw dropped and shook by just how they did what they did. It feels fresh. Yes, you can compare it to movies like Over the Hedge, or some people have even compared it to just the idea of using animals from the Wild Robot. But I feel like what they do with Hoppers is original, fresh, and a really great story that I feel like is going to become a timeless classic in the future. So if you've seen this movie, let me know what your thoughts are, as well as go check out my full Pixar ranking. I ranked the current 30 films. It's currently one of my bigger videos on my channel right now, so be sure to check that out. And let me know in the comments below what you think of this movie, or if you're planning on seeing this movie as well. Have a wonderful day. Please like, subscribe, and share, and have a great week. That sounded weird. Also, stay tuned for my next week's video, which I will be doing of Project Hail Mary, which is the movie I'm most excited for, so stay tuned for that. Have a wonderful day. Bye!